Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, Taking Care of Business. The man who rules the world breaks in a brand new partner to help him take care of business in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get John Haynes, Taking Care of Business at paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. A small business advocacy organization filed a lawsuit against Major League Baseball, its commissioner, Rob Manfred, the Major League Baseball Players Association, and its executive director, Tony Clark. And in this lawsuit, the business advocacy organization wants the All-Star Game to return to Atlanta immediately or pay $100 million in damages to local and state small businesses to recompense them for all of the losses they took when they wound up withdrawing the All-Star Game in reaction to the governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, signing the law as related to reforming the voting standards in the state of Georgia. Now, when I take a critical examination of this lawsuit, it's just a little too late. And what we're seeing here is a response to the whole issue of what many people call get woke, go broke, because the decision to remove the All-Star Game and take it out of Atlanta was one big virtue signal by woke leftists to go out here and make a statement to a white man, your Brian Kemp, that ironically wound up doing more damage to black-owned businesses and people who were struggling in the city of a predominantly black Atlanta during the COVID-19 pandemic. Because during the pandemic, many of these black-owned businesses suffered as they're considered non-essential and were forced to close, and many of those people were looking forward to the All-Star Game in an effort to try to recoup some of the revenue they lost during 2020. Unfortunately, because many people like your Stacey Abrams wanted to virtue signal and tried to get brownie points with their leftist leaders, they went out here talking about advocating for boycotting Major League Baseball and boycotting the All-Star Game in Atlanta. And as people like your Stacey Abrams and many others in your government in Atlanta advocated for the removal of the All-Star Game, and many of the players there advocated for the All-Star Game to leave Atlanta, what happened was your Major League Baseball decided to respond by taking the game out of Atlanta. And then after they took the game out of Atlanta and moved it to Denver, that's when many people started to realize that their woke virtue signaling was going to do damage to actual black people. So that's when people got out of their feelings and started to think critically. And a lot of those people, as they started to think critically, started to realize that they were going to lose a lot of revenue as related to this major tourist event, all because a handful of people on the left were caught up in their feelings about how somebody voted for, someone out here and signed a law, and because they were in their feelings about this white politician, they were going to actually do damage to the lives of millions of black Americans in the city of Atlanta, which is 51% black. And the ultimate insult to injury for your Major League Baseball in this quest to virtue signal was as they removed the All-Star Game from Atlanta and moved it to Denver in Colorado, they wound up showing how in their efforts to virtue signal they were doing more damage to black people's livelihoods, because Atlanta, which is 51% black, was going to help a lot of black-owned businesses profit as a result of this event. But when you move to Denver, it is only 9% black, and that meant a lot of black-owned businesses were going to lose a major payday as related to these people's feelings about politics and their feelings about a Republican governor who signed a law that they disagreed with. Now, this whole lawsuit just shows us why many people need to leave their politics at the door as related to business. Because when people bring their politics and their feelings about politics to the door, what they do is they wind up impacting the lives of constituents in those cities, and they wind up impacting them in a negative fashion because they bring their personal feelings to a business. And when you bring your personal feelings to a business, that leads to you winding up in a situation where you wind up alienating customers and you wind up alienating people who were on the sidelines. Because when it comes down to business, it's supposed to be all about the commerce and not about your feelings. And that's where the whole get woke, go broke thing comes with this whole situation with the All-Star game, because people like your Stacey Abrams, in their efforts to show how woke they are, wound up making a lot of struggling Atlanta black-owned businesses go broke as a result. A lot of restaurants, a lot of hotels, a lot of tourist attractions, a lot of these businesses, they are seasonal, and they were looking forward to having a larger volume of people coming in. Unfortunately, because a handful of woke types wanted to come in here and push their politics as related to their feelings about black people, they wound up hurting the average everyday working class person overall. And because they were so caught up in their feelings about Brian Kemp and his politics, they wound up trying to speak for black people, and they cost black people tangible dollars that would allow them to be able to keep their businesses afloat or be able to expand their own businesses. So this whole event really shows us the impact of when people speak for black people, like your Stacey Abrams and your LeBron James and many of these Major League Baseball players. These millionaires want to come out and try to speak on black issues, but don't understand that their speaking for us goes out here and does damage to the average everyday man who needs to come out and speak for themselves. Because when people like this, they all speak for us, they are only trying to push their own agenda. They're trying to push their identity politics, and they don't think about the big picture, because all they're doing is getting in their feelings about what this other white politician has done. And because they're in their feelings about this white male politician that they want to get even with, they don't really see the average everyday black man and woman on the street who is out here making a living. As they go out here and virtue signal, they go out here and make these points with their covert contract with all of these people and these platforms like the media, but they don't really understand that there are people who suffer because they want to go out here and push their agenda at our expense. And this attempt to push an agenda at black people's expense cost black-owned businesses $100 million. And that's all a result of Major League Baseball trying to appease the woke crowd, and the woke crowd wound up making residents of Atlanta go broke. And now they're suing to try to get the All-Star game back, but it's, as I see it, too little, too late. And the reason why I believe it's too little, too late is because they've already probably set up everything in Denver. They've probably got the venue set up and everything like that. So what has happened here is a really serious case of shows us how your social justice warriors, when they go out here and wage war on other minorities' behalf, wind up ironically helping out the white supremacists. Because again, we went from a city that was 51% black profiting from a major event to a city that is 9% black profiting in this case. And that shows us how many of your people on the woke side actually go out here and help the racists, because your Colorado has had numerous incidents that people have told me about as related to racism. So this is just a bad case, and again, it's a major black eye on many of these leftists. This lawsuit just shows us how many of your social justice warriors, when they wage war, wind up making casualties that impact the lives of everyday black people and cost them a way to make a living for themselves. And that's the real sad part about this lawsuit, is that it just shows us a major case of what happens when you have people speaking for black people and they wind up costing them a major event that winds up allowing them to make a living because they disagree with the politics of an individual. And as I see it, when it comes down to business, you never get personal, because when you get personal, you wind up costing yourself a lot of business and a lot of profits you could have possibly made. Now, if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to pick up some of my SJS Direct publications, you can find them in paperback and Kindle format on Amazon.com. You can also find them on Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Coming to paperback and e-readers this April, Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess. The goddess next door must take on the threat of a deadly digital diva driven to destroy the world in this action-packed all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess in paperback and e-readers this April.